So we'll go ahead and move into David with his constitutional moment.
All right. Well, I have a bunch of things tonight, but I thought we would talk about first Trump's big deal. He's using the Enemy Aliens Act of 1798. We've heard about that a lot, right? This is something, when you look at it, is not what it seems. Now, Trump is not doing anything wrong, and so I wanted to point it out because the Enemy Aliens Act, when it was actually enacted, was wholly illegal. It was illegal. Let's just read it real fast. Basics. Restraint, regulation, removal whenever there is declared war, or, as we see it here, any invasion or predatory incursion is perpetrated by another country. All native citizens and denizens or subjects of the hostile nation or government within the United States and not actually naturalized shall be liable to be apprehended and removed. That's what the act says, basically. And the president can do this, and the president alone can declare these people to be enemy aliens and remove them. Okay? There's a problem. This was passed in 1798. Article 1, Section 9 says, the migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited until the year 1808. We are 10 years early, and the feds are getting their hands in on this, and they are passing a law against people who are rightly in the states, because the states wanted to bring in the people they wanted. We needed migration. Some of the agrarian states needed workers, and they needed just not just importation, that's slavery, but the migration. And so we were getting people from Spain and Portugal and Great Britain, and we were bringing in people, France, and all over the place. And all of a sudden, we had a problem. Oh, the states who were inviting the people in were actually more Democrat-Republican states. But who's in power at this point in time? It's the Federalists. So what we had was John Adams and the Federalists were seeking to shut up the Democrat-Republicans. The sedition acts were actually used. The people who were prosecuted and had their stuff damaged and destroyed and were put in jail were all Democrat-Republicans. The vice president, Thomas Jefferson, had to write under a pseudonym so that he wouldn't be arrested as vice president. The Alien Acts attacked alien friends, in other words, people who were lawfully here. It's kind of like taking a permanent resident with a green card. You're going through the steps. You're here lawfully. You've gotten into the country by every lawful means there is. You're not an illegal, and all of a sudden the president just declares you an alien and ships you back home. When that's not your home anymore, this is your home. That's what we're looking at. That is not what Trump is doing. Unlike 1798, not one person Trump has sent back belongs in this country. If you stop and think about it, not one of them is actually lawfully in this country. The perversions, though, of the law give the appearance that they can be here. So they come in, they sneak across the border, and under Biden, what was happening is they were being given court dates on down the road. As we learned from Senator Lankford, in New York, it was 12 to 18 years before you got your first court hearing. Perversion that they're being allowed to stay in this country for that period of time when they snuck in here and they committed breakage of the law to get here. Completely the opposite of what we had going on in 1798. Without question, now the aliens the aliens invited in 1798, they had the right to be here. Due process was owed them, just like it would be anybody who is lawfully here. If you're a permanent resident, you are due process, just like a citizen, but not somebody who snuck in here and isn't even supposed to be here. Then it's just get them out. There's no due process because you don't belong. And so the president can't bypass lawful laws, but he can he can't bypass the Constitution, but we're not talking about that when we're talking about illegal aliens. That's an invasion, if you will. And so you can read more about this with the Kentucky and Virginia resolutions of 1798. They dealt with it in detail, all of the things going on there. So I just wanted to run that by you real fast. Yes.
So I get it. If you snuck in across the border,
Right.
you have no rights because you're here illegally.
Correct.
Okay, how about all these people that Biden invited in through NGOs where they went out and solicited them and brought them in and gave them special apps to phone in and all that? Are they considered invited in or are they considered illegal?
Well, that's the perversions I'm talking about. Because the law didn't invite them in. The executive branch invited them in. The judiciary let them stay in violation of the law. Okay? So if you are following the law, we don't have this problem. But nobody's been following the law in our lifetimes, pretty much, when it comes to immigration.
So those people technically, by the law, are still illegally in the country?
To my understanding. Now, I don't know the law specifically, but that's where we need to go back to the statutes and read what does it have. Because the Constitution grants Congress the powers of naturalization and power over migration.
Let's just suppose for a moment that Biden actually did lose the 2020 election. Is he even a legal president?
That's a whole other story, and unfortunately, it's water under the bridge, you know. So, but I completely agree. No, but what do we do?
Whatever he puts in law, then would that be legal?
And that would
If he's incompetent and someone else is pulling his string.
well, the thing is, what's the difference? They're all doing it all illegal, because this gets into what I'm going to talk about next, real fast. I'm working on it. Let's see. Here we go. Oops. Yeah, well, this one is important because there are 3 bills that we got to look out for. And it is SB 743. SB 743 will make it a crime, punishable as a misdemeanor, then a felony for the first and second offense, for anybody who willfully disturbs, interrupts, or disquiets any church service. Disquiets. And what they define that as is that if you utter any profane discourse, committing any rude, indecent act, or making any unnecessary noise, either within the place where such meeting is held or so near it as to disturb the order and solemnity of the occasion or of the meeting, or exhibiting or engaging in within 1 mile any protest, show, play without a license of the appropriate authority.
Is this state?
This is state. This is past the Senate, and it is just yesterday passed the House. I should say passed the House committee. So, and it's Gallagher in the Senate is the author. So 1 mile. Now, this is what I got my start with the Constitution about, was freedom of speech and standing out in front of a church saying, this church is preaching falsely and so forth. So now they want to move me down a mile, which wouldn't make any sense, or get a license. In other words, some permission from some authority. Wait, who has authority over us? We're supposed to be the sovereigns. So anyway, it gets worse. But then we have SB 991. This codifies the working definition of anti-Semitism from the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. Now, it takes this Remembrance Alliance organization, and it is now codifying into law what they have said. They say that it is exclusively as a tool and guide for training, education, and recognizing, combating anti-Semitic hate crimes or discrimination, and for tracking and reporting anti-Semitic incidents in this state. They then say that it will not be construed to deny anybody a First Amendment right. And then we get to SB 942. SB 942 basically institutes 991 to every educational facility or every educational place in the state. So they have to integrate the definition of anti-Semitism, which I'll give you here in a second, of the act into their student, faculty, and employee codes of conduct. So it's going to be exactly like DEI, but for anti-Semitism. And it'll be incorporate anti-Semitism awareness training for all students, faculty, administrators, and campus police. All institutions of higher education and public schools are encouraged to integrate Jewish American heritage curriculum for students that incorporates Jewish experiences in the United States of America pre and post-revolution, pre and post-World War II, and the Holocaust, and in modern times. So you're supposed to now all include this. What about every other group? Right, is my question. Because if we're all together and we're all equal, where's this? It's not that I'm anti-Semitic in the slightest. It's just that we're creating special classes of people instead of treating all people alike. Here's the problem. Here's their anti-Semitism definition. It says it has the same meaning as provided, Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews, which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed toward Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property, toward Jewish community institutions and religious facilities. Notice that it says rhetorical manifestations. In other words, speech. Speech. Your speech, rightly or wrongly, is protected, but they are making it illegal. And they are doing it, and it will be this creeping, slow thing. They start with one thing. They say it's not going to violate any rights, and then they start right off by starting to violate rights, and then all it will do is grow from here. The problem with these, and you look at their examples, it gets even worse. I won't go into that and bore you all with it.
Well, it's obvious these people have never read the Talmud.
Well, yeah. They would actually, by their definition, Lori is an anti-Semite because she culturally appropriated something from the Holocaust to make a point about COVID, and that's disallowed according to their examples. So. It's coming. It's already here. This is in the exact same position. Both of these bills have sailed through the Senate. Our friends, our favorite senators in the Oklahoma Senate all voted for this, every one of them. And it has just passed the House committee as well, and it's ready to go to the floor. So we have, just to remind you, SB 743, SB 991, and SB 942. If you could call your House member as soon as you can, it would be helpful.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Appreciate it. It's always interesting to find out what he's gonna have to say. I do want to take a minute real quick. Many of us have been around for quite a while, and we're very fortunate that we have Brian Mayberry that comes and records the majority of our meetings. And when I say majority, I mean 99.5% of our meetings he records. And I want to say thank you, Brian, so much for your hard work. Listen, if you have not seen what the work that he put into the auditor giving her report, encourage people, go to the YouTube channel, and I'll put it out in an email. I'm going to start sending out the last meeting on email, just because everybody needs to see what I mean. First off, he did a phenomenal job, but second off, people need to know what's in this audit. And it's like it's just been nothing. We waited, and then it's like, and it's all gone. But we can't be that way. So I wanted to take a minute and just really recognize you, Brian, and say thank you so much for you taking the time to do this, because it means so much to us. Because you're going to see in just a minute that we've got a video. We've had videos almost from the very beginning. And we're going to show you our one year video. In fact, let's go ahead and do that, because I'm going to talk about where we've been and where we're going. Because no, go ahead. It's just, you can turn the sound down. So this was just our first year in 2009 when we got started. And so here we were having it was a town hall that we were having. And if you'll remember, is it taking that long, or does it go through? No, just let it play through, and I'll just kind of comment. There we go, 27. Glenn Beck, of course, is who inspired the 912 project. And you see on your thing, we've got the 9 principles, 12 values. Sarah Palin was very integral in when we started forming. And it talks, and he says, in clothing consignment shops. This was our clothing store. We had a resale shop at 71st and Lewis. And this is where 912 started. Because Glenn Beck asked that we meet, and he had an idea, and his idea was 912 project. And so we didn't know what we were doing, but we just got started. We decided we needed to be educated, and so that's one of the things that we focused on. Now, Ron was the one that did our videos in the beginning. This isn't Brian's work. I'm just going to tell you right now, this isn't Brian's work. Obamacare, we did a symposium on Obamacare. We did, we joined with other groups and worked together to make things happen. We brought in, of course, Jenny White with OKC 912 at the time. And this was my dad. In fact, today's his birthday. And he passed away 12 years ago. Of course, we had State Senator Randy Brogdon, and that's his wife. We had Oath Keepers, and that's when they had held the hand up, and everybody took the oath of, what was it?
Military oath.
Military oath, yes. And so that was very interesting. That group. I don't know if they went wonky or what happened, but I think they were part of the January 6th. If you hear what they're saying, I was there January 6th. I don't think it was Oath Keepers, but
They split off.
did they? They splintered. Okay. Well, we'll get through this, but the point I wanted to tell you is we didn't know what we were doing. We just knew that there was something that had to be done, and so we got out and we started educating ourselves on what was going on federally. We were really focused on Obamacare at that time. And then I remember on Christmas Eve, the Senate passed, this is going to be, so yeah, we did well. So the Senate passed Obamacare, and I remember my mom coming over and saying, "What are we going to do now, Rhonda? What are we going to do?" And I said, "We're going to focus on the state, because it's apparent we can't do anything. Our voices are ineffective at the federal level. So we decided we'd get involved in the state and start educating ourselves." Well, this was in my home, and this was Amanda Teagarden that was teaching about how to be a citizen activist, how to be a lobbyist. Then we traveled to Oklahoma City to see what they were doing, because, I will copy you if you've got good ideas. This was, let's see what else we got here. City Hall, we had a tax day tea party. That was a lot of fun. We got to meet a lot of new people there. You know, that's really where we got started, was right at the same time as the Tea Party. And so we kind of came together. The thing that set us apart from the Tea Party is the fact that we have a foundation in our 9 principles and 12 values. Then there was another event at Veterans Park. We were very busy, guys. So we've always stayed busy.
Look at the numbers.
Yeah. They had some really great signs. And of course, you know, the media always finds the ones that are the goofiest. Let's see what else we did here. So these are, I mean, oh, anybody recognize Larry? And we would protest at 71st and 169 before the yeah, exactly. But if you'll see in here, you're going to see counter protest, where we found out that MoveOn.org was going to be having a protest, say, in front of, oh, this was fun. So Obama did something that just, we said, oh, that's the death of liberty. Liberty has died, and so we had a funeral procession. And if you'll see, we have a casket. And in it, I've got a bust, and I've got her dressed up, so she's Lady Liberty. And we're driving down the highway, and we have people that are waving, and we got on 2-lane roads. There were people that would actually pull over. And I know. So my husband and some other guy rode motorcycles at the beginning, and so it was a lot of fun. But I mean, these are the types of things that we did because it brought awareness and it made us feel like we were doing something. So this was the first counter protest that we had right by Utica Square. So what we decided to do is we're going to show up first.
This video looks like it's from 1980.
Well, we would show up first. We'd find out what time they were going to meet and where they were going to be, and we'd get there 30 minutes early, and we'd get the better seats. And so we'd get out there and we'd protest. But it was so funny on this one when all of a sudden there was a big group of them that come walking around the corner, and then they see us, and it was just like they were so defeated. Then we did it again at 41st and Yale. And that's when they were attacking Senator Coburn for something. I don't remember what it was. And so we just decided we were going to get out and show our support for Senator Coburn. So that was a big project. Freedom Fest. We had a chili cook-off. We had a poker run, and we had the Freedom Fest. So we had speakers, we had different entertainment, and it was on the 4th of July. Bless you. It was on the 4th of July, and it was a great time. It was a lot of fun. And this was a rally on the Capitol steps. Oh, Peggy, look at there. So we did a lot of rallies, and look, I make my kids get out and protest. We participated in the Christmas parade. And if you'll remember, way back when PSO decided that they were going to take the word Christmas out of the word Christmas parade, we joined with a bunch of other people, and we had our own Christmas parade at Tulsa Hills for 2 or 3 years in a row until they were able to come together. And now we have the Tulsa Christmas parade. And Josh McFarland was very instrumental in that. So, yeah, it does kind of look 80s, doesn't it? It is. It is. Oh, and this is when we protested against PSO. Now, here's my mom. My mom is in her mink coat, and she's holding a sign that says PSO stole Christmas or something, and it's got a picture of the Grinch, or who's the Grinch, and it said PSO. And the president of PSO came out and asked her to please not hold that sign, that it wasn't their fault. They didn't make that decision to take the word Christmas out of it. So it was just, it was funny. I've dragged my mom into a bunch of stuff.
Are you sure she didn't drag you into it?
No. And then this is stuff that we did, you know, for fundraising and stuff. That it was a garage sale. We did that a couple of times, and we were very successful in that. But I did this because this was 2009, 2010. It's 2025, and we're still here. Our numbers tonight aren't that great. There's like 3 or 4 different events going on tonight, and I've pretty much been kind of AWOL for about the past 4 years, being so involved with the party as I have been. But I'm back, and I'm ready for us to do and start making a difference. We went to the 3 of us, Peggy, Lori, and I got together a couple weeks ago. We spent about 5 hours talking about what we want to do, where we want to go. Can save money. Talking about what we want, where we wanted to go. And you know, one of the things that we recognized is that it's time, we need to get back to our roots. We need to get back to what we were, what we did before in educating and doing that. And we've got 2026 is going to be a really exciting year, because I don't know if you realize it or not, it's 250 years since the signing of our Declaration of Independence is in 2026. It's also, 2026 is also the 25th anniversary of the 9/11, and 9/12 is, and Peggy will tell you in a minute, but 9/12 is based, some of it is off of 9/11. The fact that we came together on 9/12, united as a country, not caring what color you were, what church you went to, or what political party you were affiliated with. So we're going to return to our roots. We're going to go back, and you'll see on your handout, you've got the 9 principles and the 12 values. So take a look at it. I mean, these are all things, and you know, when Glenn Beck started this, one of the things he said was, if you can agree with 80% of this, then we have more in common than we have that divide us. And so we need to focus on the things that are important to us. So we're going to do a few things. We're going to get us a different look. We're going to have I think we're going to come up with a different logo. Lori can kind of explain what that's gonna kind of look like. We're going to bring our trainings back. You know, we did a great training with the National Center for Constitutional Studies. Is that what it is? Called The Making of America. We want to hold one of those seminars in the fall, and it's a day-long seminar. It will cost, but what you'll get away from it is you know, how America, what's behind the founding of America, what caused us, you know, what was the change that we did. And part of it will be centered around, and you saw it on the video, the 5,000-year leap. The 5,000-year leap, and we'll have books next month. It talks about how America came about, the principles that America was founded on. We want to, Lori wants to teach a civics class. People don't know. They don't know that the county's different from the cities, different from the state, different from, you know, federal. Everybody thinks federal. That's all they think. So Lori would like to teach some civics. We'd like to do some campaign training. We want to partner with AFP, Americans for Prosperity. They've got some great trainings, and they would let us use their facility for them. So we want to bring it back, because I think right now what we're seeing in the people that are active is you're just seeing anger. And they're not doing anything with it. They're not educating themselves. They're just wanting to stay angry. And staying angry is not effective. You're not gonna get anywhere that way. So we want to teach people how to be effective activists and how to affect the change that you're looking for, and find out the things that you need to regarding the founding of our country, and or if you want to be work on a campaign, or say you want to run for office, we want to be able to offer trainings for that as well. One of the other things we've kind of toyed around with was memberships. We do have to raise money, and memberships would be an advantage. One of the things Lori said, she says, well, I mean, what does a membership get you? Well, we'll have certain events, maybe where we can have private meetings with elected officials or certain people that you can get together and have some intimate conversations with. And you're also supporting the club. And one of the things we want to do is in September, we're going to bring back our breakfast meetings. We've had so many people that have asked us, when are you bringing back the breakfast meetings? So September 26th is going to be our first meeting. It will be a members-only event, and Congressman Hearn will be our speaker. And he's really excited about getting to come and do that. Even the elected officials have been asking, when are you going to bring back the breakfast club? So, of course, IHOP is closed now. So I'm going to work on getting Big Biscuit at 41st and Yale. It's got a meeting room. So look for that to come back. And, I just think that we want to be a resource. We want to be an effective organization in training people to move forward. Yes, ma'am.
But we aren't gonna call secret meetings, are we?
Only if you're a member, Mother. You can come to our secret meetings. No, we're not gonna have secret meetings. And then the other, maybe a secret handshake. The other thing is, if you notice, we have a sheet here that talks about, we want to work our way up to the signing of the Declaration of Independence. We want to talk about each month what was going on 250 years ago that led up to the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And I think that it's important that we know that history, and we see it. And Lori's going to talk about that in just a little bit. And I think I've covered everything I'm supposed to. If I didn't, I'll catch it on the back end. But I want to bring Peggy up because she wants to talk about the founding and the purpose of 9/12. And if there are the ideas that you guys have, or things that we can do, or subjects that we can talk about, I would ask that you please reach out to us and just let us know, because we want to be able to provide you with the stuff that you're needing. And so, Peggy, where'd Peggy go?
Went to the bathroom.
Okay, all right, Peggy, ta-da!
I'm an old lady with old body parts.
There you go. So come and tell us about why the 9/12 and what's our purpose.
Oh, okay. Well, I think she's pretty much covered it, but I'll take your memory back. After Mr. Obama was elected president, there were a lot of folks in this country that felt that they were not part of anything anymore. And so Glenn Beck, when his program's still very popular, but in those days, he invited families to start sending him pictures of their families, their neighborhoods, their churches, and he developed this huge grouping of pictures of all kinds of people to show that
picture.
that we're more alike than we are different, and that you're not alone. There are other people in the world who think kind of like you do, because people that had traditional values at that point in time just felt that they were albatrosses. So, and it was after that collecting of pictures and to show people that they weren't alone in their thought patterns that he started the 9/12 Project. And 9/12 stands for the day after September 11th, 2001, because that's the day everybody came together and they were Americans first and foremost. And I remember the flags going up all over every little town. Every street light had an American flag on it. I remember driving over into Arkansas, and every little town had, every building, every street light, every town had many flags and things like that. People were, yeah. Yeah, and that was his purpose, was to bring people together to start working together. Look, we're not going to agree on everything. That's why we have our principles. No one expects you necessarily to absolutely agree with every principle. But if you can agree with most of them, then we can work together to find some common solutions. If we don't start working together, we're going to disintegrate. And we're very close to that now. And I just want to say that it's appalling to me when you go out on the street and you ask a young person, who did the Americans fight in the Revolutionary War, and you get Sudan or Spain or, God knows what. We are not doing a very good job in general of educating people. I work elections. I've had people come in belligerent because they couldn't vote for the mayor of Tulsa and they lived in Bixby. And you tell them, lady, you live in Bixby. That's a different town. You have your own mayor. You can't vote for the Tulsa mayor because you live in Bixby. I mean, it's happened. I've seen it happen. Believe me.
I think that the mayor, this election cycle, thought the mayor was Tulsa County.
Well, and I was going to point out to you, Sheriff Margolado, he is one of your 8 county officers. 3 commissioners, the sheriff, the assessor, the treasurer, county clerk, court clerk, and DA. But the DA is not part of the county budget committee.
DAs aren't on a county basis.
No, I didn't think they were.
7 DA districts.
Right, they're DA districts, okay. But there are 8 county officers, and the sheriff is one of them. I bet you 90% of people think the sheriff is part of Tulsa City or something, or the state.
Yeah.
So we want to make people aware of how things run, what works. Where do you go if you have a complaint about something? Well, if it's a city issue, you have to go to the city, and if it's a county issue, you have to go to the county or the state, you see? And so that's our goal, is just to make people aware. And I want all of you, if you don't have an X account, a Twitter account, I want you to sign up for Twitter, because we're going to start communicating via Twitter. There's already some pretty active people in Tulsa on Twitter talking about a lot of things about the city government, a lot of things about crime, various issues. If you're waiting for KRMG or KTUL or one of these news programs, you're wasting your time, because even what they report is so skewed. It's amazing. I've sat watched the state legislature work for a day and gone home and listened to the news and wondered if the news reporter was even on the same planet. Honestly.
Yep.
So.
I'm going to wrap you up so we can keep moving. Thank you, Peggy. We appreciate it very much. Okay, the last thing we're going to do real quick, and then we're going to start doing this monthly, and you'll see that on this sheet of paper, it gives you our meeting dates, but it also gives you some historical dates. And so we're going to talk about just kind of what was going on 250 years ago each month. And so if there's something on here that interests you, that you would like to be the one to do a short talk on one of these subjects that lead up to the Revolutionary War, we would welcome you to do it, because it's going to be a lot of fun to kind of just even research what was going on and what was happening. So if anyone is interested in doing that, you're welcome, but you will be timed. I'm kidding. So well, probably about 10 minutes is what we'll end up doing. But I'm gonna bring Lori up right now. Lori is gonna talk to you about what was going on, at this time 250 years ago. And I think we probably didn't even think about, we're not thinking about it right now, and we just take it for granted. But there were a lot of things that led up to us finally being mad enough to decide that we wanted to break away completely from England. So, Laura, you want to tell us what happened in April of 1775?
There's a poem written about what happened in April of 1775. We probably all learned it at some point in school, but we're going to talk about an ordinary man who did extraordinary things named Paul Revere. So I'm going to be your Paul Harvey tonight and hopefully tell you the rest of the story, because not everything made it into Wadsworth's poem. Say that 3 times fast. And we're going to learn about a secret clandestine meeting site that might be popping up on our new logo sometime soon. It all deals with the Green Dragon. So I wrote out my notes just because I wanted to stay on track. And so let's start back 250 years ago. Patriots, colonists, and the Sons of Liberty, including Paul Revere, were meeting in pubs, homes, churches, and taverns, such as the Green Dragon Tavern in Boston, to discuss issues like freedom, liberty, taxation, and representation, sounds like today, loyalty to England, or independence from the crown. It was on April 18, 1775, at the Green Dragon Tavern that Revere overheard British regulars discussing their plans to seize the munitions stockpile at Lexington and Concord. Colonists had been amassing muskets, cannons, gunpowder, and lead shot in preparation for the anticipated conflict with England. The British Crown intended to seize the colonists' armaments, depriving them of their right to self-defense. Paul Revere was an ordinary citizen, born and raised in Boston. He wasn't an illegal who came over. He was a respected silversmith and artisan who became involved politically with the Sons of Liberty. The group had formed in response to England's oppressive treatment of the colonists and the exorbitant taxes levied through measures such as the Stamp Act, the Townshend Act, the Tea Act, the Intolerable Acts, and other forms of taxation and infringement of liberties, including the Quartering Act, where they put soldiers in your house whether you wanted them there or not. In fact, Revere was known to have participated in the Boston Tea Party in December of 1773, although charges were never brought against him or his compatriots. Revere also depicted the events of the Boston Massacre in the famous etching that we surely have seen in our history books. You know the one that I'm talking about, where it shows the redcoats on one side and the Boston Massacre. It's also been depicted as a bit of a propaganda piece because it wasn't quite that bloody. But anyway, I think we would have liked Revere. On the evening of April 18th, Dr. Joseph Warren, another one of the Sons of Liberty, upon learning of the British plans, initiated his plan to warn John Hancock and Samuel Adams that British troops were preparing to march out of Boston, cross the Charles River, and presumably arrest them and seize munitions held at Lexington and Concord. Warren dispatched 2 riders, Paul Revere across the waters and William Dawes along the land route, hoping that should one of them be captured, the other would succeed in delivering the warning. An additional alert was devised by lighting lanterns in the steeple of Old North Church. In his youth, Revere had been a bell ringer at the church, and he knew that the steeple was the perfect spot to display signal lanterns that could be seen for miles around. We surely remember, one if by land, two if by sea, from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's famous poem, I always get tongue-tied on that, The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. The prearranged signal of 2 lanterns shone that night from the Old North Church, and while Longfellow didn't get all the facts right, the gist of the story is there in his lines. Once patriots saw the lights from the 2 lanterns, or heard the alarm from Revere or Dawes, the news of the impending British attack spread like wildfire, reaching militia as far away as New Hampshire. That didn't make it into the poem. And this is why there was a great number that eventually amassed and surrounded Boston. In the early hours of April 19th, Revere and Dawes reached Lexington within a half hour of each other, and after convincing Hancock and Adams to flee, they didn't want to go, the 2 riders left to warn Concord and were soon joined by another son of liberty, Dr. Samuel Prescott. So it wasn't just Revere, he had compatriots, and the word passed mouth to mouth. Does anybody remember the Fabergé Organics commercial? You tell 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends, and so on and so on. That's kind of how this worked. They didn't have Twitter, they didn't have email, they didn't have phones, but they got the word out as far as New Hampshire and brought thousands down to Boston to surround the city. Along the way, the 3 men were intercepted and detained by a British patrol. Prescott and Dawes escaped, but Revere was held for some time, questioned, and let go after having his horse confiscated. Left alone on the road, Revere returned to Lexington on foot, arriving in time to witness the latter part of the battle on Lexington Green, where approximately 70 militiamen engaged in combat with 700 British troops. The commander of the militia, Captain John Parker, admonished his men, you've heard this too, stand your ground, don't fire unless fired upon, but if they mean to have war, let it begin here. And so began the War for Independence. I'm good. Today, we share much in common with Revere. Think about it. He's a sort of everyman. He's an ordinary man that, together with other patriots, not by himself, but with other patriots, accomplished extraordinary things. Revere was a concerned and conscientious citizen who saw oppression foisted upon his neighbors and fellow colonists by a tyrannical government. Rather than protect the inalienable rights given to mankind by their creator, King James III denied the colonists their rights, such as representation before the crown, as the English Constitution required. They had a constitution, and the king refused to abide by it. The king oppressed colonists through excessive taxation, military occupation, tyrannical courts, and governors. And today we continue to fight against legislative tyranny, judicial overreach, and executive oppression via administrative bureaucracies. Revere could not stand idly by and see such oppression happen. He had to do something, and he did. Likewise, we have had to do something when we have seen illegal taxation, oppressive legislation, voter fraud, regulatory strangleholds on business and industry, not to mention the denial of personal liberties and rights, COVID. Like the members of 912, Revere was an activist who stood up and said no. Like us, he was an ordinary citizen who remembered that we, the people, have the duty to oppose oppression and fight for liberty and justice. In July of the next year, of this next year coming up, just 15 months from now, we will celebrate the 250th anniversary of American independence. During the months leading to the celebration, Tulsa 912 will be taking time to look back over the events leading up to that tremendous day. Revere and Dawes' midnight ride and the subsequent battles at Lexington and Concord on April 19th were the first of many battles, more lost than won, that ultimately led to the victorious establishment of the greatest nation on earth, the USA. I trust that you will enjoy revisiting this amazing journey to independence and freedom and be encouraged to stay in the fight. Though battles may be lost along the way, we must remain vigilant and activated if we are to win the war for freedom and stay the hand of the tyranny that seeks to shackle us once again with servitude and oppression. Thank you.
And I would remind you that the Tea Party that happened for a tax on tea of 3%.
Yeah, they really didn't like taxes. Okay, real quick, I'm gonna wrap up because it's time for us to go home. Our next meeting is gonna be on May the 8th. We'll meet back here. I don't know who our speaker will be, but we will put that out as soon as we know. Elena Ashley showed up. She had like 3 or 4 different events that she had to go to, so she's been running and gunning, I can assure you. But the website where you can go and make a donation to help their cause, to help pay for those depositions, is www.givesendgo.com/sunshine. Yep, they're shedding sunshine in the dark, on the dark. So it's givesendgo.com/sunshine. Anything that you can give will help. It will go towards the depositions. And then I will also work to make everyone aware of when our school board meetings are, so that we can make it a point to be there for Elena, because she is our beacon of light in darkness at the school board. So, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Well, I found out tonight.
Hang on.
I found out tonight that Mike Mazie will be at our next district community dinner. So you're welcome to come and have dinner with us. He has some great ideas for education and certainly for finances for the state and getting rid of taxes. So it'll be a great meeting. Thank you.
I got kicked off of the speakers now.
Not this time.
Oh, okay.
You're April.
Okay. No, I'm messing with her. I'm like, so I'm not going to be your speaker anymore. So, but listen, 2026 is exciting too, because we've got statewide races. We're going to have the governor's race. Stitt can't run for re-election. We're going to have lieutenant governor. We're going to have, insurance commissioner, attorney general, labor commissioner. I mean, there's a whole lot of different races that are going to be going on. And so I would encourage you, if you've never worked on a campaign, find one that you can believe in and that you can get behind and help. And let's try and help people in the primaries. Yes, sir. Yes, and State Superintendent of Public Instruction. All our statewide races are in 2026. So, yeah, that's going to be very important as well. They're all important, but and then of course we're going to be fighting State Question 836. So we've got our work cut out for us. I would encourage you to bring a friend next month. Bring somebody, and let's start getting people engaged and ready to go. I think that it's just time for us to get busy. So. Thank you so much. Please be careful going home. Appreciate you very much.